people of North Carolina. Solidarity with the students in the Student Center in Harlem. And the good people of Detroit. And the homeless. And the low-wage earner.
And the low-wage earner.
And the voiceless.
And the voiceless.
And the imprisoned.
And the imprisoned.
And the bankrupt.
And the bankrupt.
And those that suffer from all kind of isms.
And those that suffer from all kinds of isms.
There are times when we must raise our voices.
There are times when we must raise our voices.
Now is such a time.
Now is such a time.
Let's gather in close and pray. As we stand here on the steps of Federal Hall,
As we stand here on the steps of Federal Hall,
may passion inspire us.
may passion inspire us.
May injustice trouble us.
May injustice trouble us.
May hope comfort us.
May hope comfort us.
May friendship nourish us.
May friendship nourish us.
May peace surround us.
May peace surround us.
May love permeate us.
May love permeate us.
May gratitude for each other overwhelm us.
May gratitude for each other overwhelm us.
Now don't mic check this next part.
Okay.
May the love that overcomes all differences, that heals all wounds, that puts to flight all fears, that reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Amen. Now and always.
Is this my cue?
Yes.
I combined the hits of last week. The parts you like the best. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. One more time. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. Sometimes I lay under the moon. I thank God I'm breathing. And I pray don't take me soon. 'Cause I'm here for a reason. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I know one day it'll all turn around. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that they don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day. One day, one day, one day. It's not about win or lose. We all lose when they feed on the souls of the innocent. The blood-drenched pavement. Keep on moving though the water stays raging. In this maze you may lose your way. Your way. It'll drive you crazy, but don't let it phase you. No way, no way. Sometimes in my tears I drown, but I never let it get me down. So when negativity surrounds, I I know someday it'll all turn around. All my life I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that they don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will play one day, one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. Repeat. Ain't this all will change? Ain't this all will change? Treat people the same.
Treat people the same.
Stop with the violence.
Stop with the violence.
Down with the hate.
Down with the hate.
They will all be free.
They will all be free.
And proud to be.
And proud to be.
Under the same sun.
Under the same sun.
Singing songs of freedom.
Singing songs of freedom.
I've been waiting for, I've been praying for the people to say that they don't want to fight no more. There'll be no more war, and our children will say one day, 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 one day. One day, one day, one day, I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down. I will not be complacent. I will not back down.
Yeah, we're having fun, right? Yeah.
I am.
I like singing songs.
Yeah.
Who else is singing songs?
Yes. Greatest hits of all time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God,
I think
Grammy
you're going to
winning
be
album.
able to sing along. I mean, you don't know till you try. This popped out of me 3 weeks before Occupy popped out of the city. I got no time for time. I want to change the world right now. I got no time for time. I want to change the world. We got no time for time. We want to change the world right now. We got no time for time. We want to change the world. There are wrongs outside your window, through your ceilings, through your floors. There are wrongs to the left of you, wrongs to the right of you, wrongs outside your doors. They're doing them wrong in the streets and on the avenue. In your cities, in your town, all around the global view, they got no time for time. They wanna change the world right now. They got no time for time. They wanna change the world. They got no time for time. They wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. So go and let it show that you want the world to change. Tell the people that you know that it's time we rearrange. Fix the wrongs outside your window. Fix the wrongs outside your door. One step closer to a new world. one bit better than before. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world right now. We got no time for time. We wanna change the world. Wanna change the world. We wanna change the world. We wanna change the world. We wanna change the world.
Don't play the game. Stop before it's too late. It takes time to change, but we just can't wait.
Yeah. Justified.
There's some of these people putting on the interview.
Would you like me to do it? Huh?
Do people feel moved to talk? You want to sing more?
Would anyone?
Yeah. Yeah, why don't we do some beach? The people who are here, if you feel so moved and you want to talk about why you're here, why you came back from last week, what you're hoping we're going to be doing next week, please share.
I wouldn't mind my checking this.
All right.
This is a verse I did last week because I have to go soon. I want to make sure.
Get in there, girl.
And who was here the day we played Red Rover on Wall Street? Nobody? All right. Well, I might check this over there that day. It was super fun. So I will say, beware you sagging diplomats.
Beware you sagging diplomats.
For you will not hear one gun.
For you will not hear one gun.
And though our homes be torn and ransacked,
And though our homes be torn and ransacked,
we will not be undone.
we will not be undone.
For as we've let ourselves be bought,
For as we've let ourselves be bought,
we're gonna let ourselves be free.
we're gonna let ourselves be free.
And if you think we stand alone,
And if you think we stand alone,
look again and you will see.
look again and you will see.
People from Staten Island are here. People from Staten Island are here.
Staten Island's in the house.
That's it.
So I'll start. My name's Richard, but everybody calls me Angry Pacifist for some reason. I really love what happened in North Carolina. I think that the difference between the way civil disobedience was occurring in North Carolina over voter rights issues is sort of different than the way we did civil disobedience in Occupy. We like running around in the streets and, you know, sort of chaotically getting arrested on big days. As I get older, and I think that I want to bring more people into the movement of using their bodies as their voices in civil disobedience. I think the more we can do that in a structured way, in a planned way, a creative way. I'm a lover of street theater, so it can be really creative, but also that it is inviting people who want to participate in a safe way, but also creating safe places, ad actions for people who aren't arrestable on that particular day. The problem with Occupy Big Days is there's such a giant police force that you can be anywhere and get arrested for any reason. So what I really liked about the North Carolina Moral Mondays is something like that. We've been doing that more here in New York. I was arrested a few weeks ago with the Veterans for Peace at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, which is a couple of blocks from here. So veterans reading the names of war dead in a Veterans Memorial Park being arrested by the NYPD was an incredibly powerful and emotional experience for me. I was also arrested in Albany, blocking the Speaker's door to bring the Money Out of Politics bill forward and gender equality laws forward and marijuana legalization laws forward. So I think that those kind of structured CDs are really awesome, and I hope that we can figure out a way to do that and get as many sort of regular folks to come out for that sort of process as well.
Thanks, Henry.
My name is David, and I'm from City College, and I just want to let you know there's a big struggle going on at City College right now. It's all related to the whole Wall Street and the militarization of this country and the police force and the surveillance state. And I just like for people to know that we had a community center that was there for 20 plus years for the community, for progressive student forces on campus, and over the weekend, in the middle of the night, they pulled an Occupy on it. They came in after midnight, Saturday night, Sunday morning, removed all of our possessions, they stole them, and removed them to a site that we don't even know. They won't even give them back to us. So I showed up there by accident on Sunday morning, and they arrested me because I wanted to know where my possessions were. I had 9 of my Army tops, my BDU tops, that I had from when I was in the military from 1986 to 1988. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, 11 Bravo infantry. And they removed my BDUs, which were issued to me when I was 18 years old in the Army. And they mean the world to me. And they won't even tell me where they are. They arrested me, they threw me in the 26th precinct, and the police officer in the precinct had the nerve to call me a veteran of this country and the United States military douchebag. And then he threatened me with sticking something up my ass because he said I was a homo. Well, he's got another thing coming to him. I'm going up there tonight, I'm filing a CCRB report, and he will lose his job if there is justice in this world. And more importantly, the students right now are organizing at City College to get their center back, because that's what this struggle is really about. Or what we have fought for, we need to hold on to. And that's what Occupy was about, that's what the Civil Rights Movement was about, and that's what this movement that we're all a part of today, Moral Mondays, and the future is about. Taking back what is ours. This country is ours. It's not the Koch brothers, it's not Wall Street, it's our country. And we need to demand a change that is for us, the people.
I'll say something. I was a young Marine in the Korean War, and that was an unjust war. I didn't know it at the time. I was 18 years old, and we were sent over there to help people. We weren't sent there to help people. We were sent there to expand the empire. And expanding the empire at that time caused the whole country to be destroyed, and nearly 3 million Koreans killed. And we've done some similar things since then. And there has to be some way to fight back. Now, I've investigating and looking and thinking about the 9/11 thing that happened when 9/11 happened. There's a lot of information out there on the websites. There's one website called rethink911.org. Rethink911.org. and they've got a whole bunch of stuff which shows that 9/11 was a false flag operation. Now, false flag is when the Pentagon does something that they don't want anybody to know about. They call it a false flag. And I think that one of the things that we should do, especially here in New York City, is ask the authorities, the powers that be, to tell us why the third building didn't fall down until 10 hours later. Most people think there were only 2 buildings that fell down. The third one didn't come down until 10 hours later. No plane hit it. And when they did the committee report on the 9/11, they didn't even mention the third building. It wasn't even in the report. So I think we could embarrass them. We could say that this is New York City where it happened, and we as New Yorkers have to fight back by asking, why won't you tell us why the third building isn't in the report that was put out? Tell us why they can't find any bodies from the planes that they crashed. Tell us the truth. We need a reinvestigation of that whole incident, and I think we will find that our government, well, I shouldn't call it our government because it isn't our government, belongs to the corporation. The corporation government, in order to make more money and to create their wealth and get this war with Iraq started, had to have a real big thing happen, something powerful, something that would get people's attention. And then the big lies would come out, and they would have reason to go into places like Iraq and Afghanistan. We've got the only way the people are silent. People see this stuff on the television. I saw it on the television. It seems like the truth is in those reports. There's another group called Architects and Scientists for 911truth.org. That's Architects and Scientists for 911truth.org. They have the credentials, they have the prestigious jobs, they have the authority, and they also claim and are mad about this whole thing. During the summer, money from all over the country was donated, and they put up a sign in Times Square. Some people may have seen it, but it was on 47th and 7th Avenue, one of those big signs. And they said, why was the third building not explained to us? Most people in the country think there's only 2 buildings. Here in New York, a lot of us will know there was 3 buildings. But many places outside of New York, they think there was only 2 buildings. And the government and the commission didn't bother to mention the third building at all. So why we have to ask the question. We have to not be afraid to ask questions. And the politicians, instead of coming around telling us they're going to make better schools and they're going to do this and that, which they're not going to do, I would say we have to ask them to get us an answer. Why was that third building not put into the commission's report? Why? That question. Now, of course, this will embarrass them, but it might waken up some people to see what's going on in their name and how we lost we did have a government once, we don't have it anymore. But I'd like to, I say this on account of the firemen. Over 300 firemen died in that building. And if this was a false flag operation, which I think it was, somebody has to speak up for those 300 firemen and ask, why did we die? Now, in my Korean War experiences, saw a lot of death and destruction, but we weren't fighting in Korea, so that in 60 years later, 10% of the people own all the wealth. 10% of the people in this country own everything, and the rest of us, the 99%, own very little. The only thing that, if a person wants to become a millionaire fast, they come to the United States. No other country in the world creates billionaires and millionaires like this country does. And it's all based on war. By war.
I'll say something real quick, I guess. I'm Mike May, one of at least 4 Staten Islanders I see out here representing the most right-wing borough in New York City, and we're proud to be here. I think everybody here is a human being who gives a damn and who gives much, much more than that. We'll give everything we can. We'll give it all we've got. We will not give in. We will not give up. Personally, I'm out here because I think another reason we're all out here is to save what we can of our democracy. Scrap what doesn't work, which is most of what the government does. Save what does work. Introduce it into a new paradigm where people have the power. We can't have people power until we liberate it from the corporate state that's been confiscating and consolidating it for decades. It's about accountability. The government has chosen to be beholden to the corporate state right here because they've got a revolving door between powerful positions in government and powerful financial institutions. they've chosen to be beholden to that corporate state because they created it, they fund it, and they defend it at the risk of losing the public interest. The public interest, we're losing it more day by day. And basically, I try to frame it in language, the top dogs want the lap dogs, who are a lot of people here, to vilify us, the watchdogs. Our goal as human beings who give a damn and much, much more is to convince the lap dogs that we need to stop racing this dumbing down to the bottom and find our highest common denominator. That can give us real solidarity, put the brakes on oppression, hold these corporations accountable, tear down the oppressive praise of that bullshit bull fucking 2 blocks to the west, and bring power back to the people, and do it by means, almost any means necessary, where we can be proud that our record matches our rhetoric, that we're not violating what we feel is the best way forward. And I'm glad to be a part of this out here tonight. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, movements sometimes peter out. Yes, there was more than 100 people here last week. I know that's one reason that Angry came out here tonight. If we allow it to peter out, then we're not putting our best foot forward. And it is about outreach and awareness and explaining to people that we're the messengers holding these extremists accountable. We're looking for accountability. They're looking to cover up. The main reason for government secrecy isn't to protect our strategic interest or national security, whatever that means. It's so they can get away with murder and continue to consolidate power. We need to stop that slippery slope and lift everybody up. Thank you.
Do you want to get together maybe? Sorry. Go ahead.
I will speak very, very briefly. Y'all all hear me? I'd rather
Just
not
a
say it.
little
I
loud.
suck at
You want us to do a mic check?
No.
Just a little louder. Just a little
Okay.
louder.
So my name is Genevieve. I was not here last week. This will be my first week here. My husband and I have been in Brooklyn for the last like 5-6 years. We recently moved to Staten Island 2 months ago. So the 4 or 5 of you will be very excited about that.
It's a hotbed.
I don't, I mean, there's a lot of things I could say, but maybe it would be helpful if we, kind of focused on what it is that New Yorkers really need tackling. I mean, I think that there are things that's like problems which are unique to New York. I think it would be a good idea to also maybe focus on problems that New Yorkers face that other people face as well, so that we can sort of not serve as like not a role model necessarily, but if you want to have help solving a particular problem, like this is how we did it, So I think a good way of starting something like that would be to, not tonight obviously, because I know we're really pressed for time, but sort of find out what each other's background is, maybe like what current job you're at, jobs that you've held in the past. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that everyone can contribute. It would be a good idea to sort of figure out what our strengths are first, and then move on to like an actual like plan of action.
That makes sense.
Seriously, I'm in town for business and I just walked by and yeah, I know, right?
Thank you for having the courage.
Yeah, no, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say right now. I'm worried. I'm worried at a far greater level than what we're all talking about. And I go back to, because like I was there, not. Thomas Jefferson said, rules create chaos. The more rules you have, the more chaos you have. Because where do you stop? If you have this against the law and that against the law and that against the law, then, at the end of the day, where do you put the stop? And it's so crazy to me because I know, like, we have good intentions and we see like a quick, light at the end of the tunnel, and we might not see where that can take us. And it freaks me out. Because we say we're from different backgrounds and we see it this way or that way, And I just don't think that at the end of the day, we're looking at the greater picture and how, you know, we just have more rules on top of more rules. And I'm not saying like, let this be a free, open society, because that would also be chaos. But a formal democracy is the voice of the people. And it's not giving the voice to these guys that, you know, then that end up like having all the rules and control, and we just sit back and go, okay, you know, sweet, I put you in office, go for it. I just, you know, there has to be some balance in between the two if we're really going to be a free society and we're really going to be free and open to everyone. Then we need to first act like it, aside from religion or whatever you believe. And if you don't like it, then go somewhere else. It's fine. And then, you know, and then we need to like maintain law and order. And I don't know. It's way above my pay grade. And again, like I said, I just walked past here. I don't know what I'm saying. So I don't know. I think we should think above the main issue here, and we need to think what we're all trying to do here is just create more chaos. And I don't think that solves anything. I don't know.
Thanks for your contribution.
One of the things that interested me in Moral Mondays, I've done stuff with activists of various stripes and people from Wall Street, whatever. But one of the things that excited me about this was the idea of people coming together, not necessarily to solve any specific problem with policy goals and lobbying specific politicians. Maybe, maybe not. But the idea that we're going to almost like we're trying to train a whole bunch of people to be prophets about what's right and wrong. And then people figure out the policy based on what's right and wrong. Not let's argue policy details and do policy wonks ahead of time. But really, it's wrong to abuse poor people and to use that to make massive profits for a few people. Yeah, so I mean, that's what excited me about this, was like talking about things in a very different term than like, what's good policy and what's economically sensible. No, it's right and wrong, morality. Regardless of whether you base that on one of the large religions or it's like a personal sense of, when I interact with other people, I know what's right and wrong. If I hurt somebody else to do something good for me, that's wrong and I know it. I don't need to believe in God or not believe in God. You know, I've done something wrong. There's a sense that we all have. And I think that we can all talk about things that way. And that's what excites me about this group.
Justin. Yeah, I've been really inspired that this is happening for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's creating a space where a lot of us can come together and actually have the conversations we've been wanting to have. I've met a lot of you during this great grassroots revolution that's going on. But being a member of Occupy, I can see we've been fighting a trench war, and like it's really taking its toll on a lot of communities. And I feel like working in coalition, things I've learned through doing Occupy Sandy and working in Staten Island groups, creating space so groups and individuals from those communities can discuss and see what the issues are. And I like the fact that the whole idea of a Moral Monday, that we all know what's right and wrong, and we all know what our values are. And it seems that this really gives a nice basket for us to come together and have discussions and actually start, you know, putting our bodies on the line where it matters, where we can start being strategic about this. And not on any one cause, like hearing what the causes are in the community and seeing where we can lend our support. There's a lot going on, and all of us are working towards the same goal, and I feel it's really important for us to try and bring those causes together. Because as an occupier, we saw that in the end it's all about money, it's all about Wall Street, and that all our grievances and all our issues are interconnected. And it's nice that there's a space where the more moderate radicals can come together and see what's going on and where we can apply a little leverage. Thank you for inspiring me.
The most important thing to remember right now is that we're just beginning.
just beginning.
And this is still test run number 2. We're really just starting to experiment with what this could look like. And I think there's a lot of desire to create something that's really beautiful, really focused, that draws on the best of what we've learned from other efforts, but that's something kind of new onto itself, that it's its own creature that we're creating together. And so this is a space of experimentation. I think in a month, 2 months, if we continue doing this, we'll see something very different, and it'll be shaped by all of you and by all of us and by the people who join us who we're not seeing. And one way, if you want to get more deeply involved in what's going on here, is we're holding a planning meeting tomorrow afternoon at Judson Church, starting at 1 p.m. It's on the Thompson Street side entrance, and we'll be having a more kind of in-depth discussion about how to frame these Monday actions moving forward. There are other ways of staying in touch and with connecting and continuing this conversation. There's now a Moral Mondays NYC Facebook page. There's a Twitter account as well, Moral Mondays NYC, and we're passing around a sign-up sheet that to get your email on a list so you can get word about what's coming up. But really hope that those of you who have these great ideas about how this could be really constructive and new and powerful will get involved in that process.
I know you've been waiting. I just wanted to follow up. I'm sorry. But just to follow up on that, if you guys aren't able to come to meetings, because oh my God, meetings are so incredibly annoying and boring, we do keep an eye on the Facebook event pages and the Facebook page itself. So if you have suggestions about organizations you'd like to invite, because you want to learn more about the car wash campaign or the low-wage workers campaign or what's happening in City College or whatever, put it there somehow, like in the comments page, and we're collecting all of that information. And the meeting notes, if you sign up for the email, you'll get the meeting notes. If you're like dying to know what happened in the meeting, you can find out. If people want us to do report backs on the Monday thing, we can do that.
I'm just stand up just so I can be heard. So, my name is Stacy, and I'm going to try and speak to those who are here and those who are walking by. So, I may be really stumbling over some stuff because my speech class is standing out in front of a bunch of people. But my name is Stacy, and I'm here with Moral Mondays. That's going to be happening every Monday. And why is it that I'm here with Moral Mondays? I'm here for many stuff that Justin and I'm sorry, the gentleman over there were speaking to, Dan. But the idea of appealing to our morality. I feel so many people today know what's right and wrong, and so many times look away or say, what can I do? So I like the idea of Moral Mondays being a space where people can stop and talk to their neighbors, stop and talk to their coworkers who are walking by, and create community where there wasn't community. I feel so much of today's problems is there's this separateness between us as individuals. We go to our jobs, we have our earphones in, you barely look at someone who's sitting across from you on the subway. And I like the idea of creating space in public to say, let's hold ourselves accountable, let's hold our neighbors accountable, let's hold our governments accountable. How many times do you say, man, that's really wrong? Women get paid how much? 70-something cents on the dollar still for the last 10 years, and I know women are there walking by and going, oh my God, what is she saying? I saw people turning around. It's stuff like that. Like, how many times do we have to turn our heads and not look at the person who's sick, not look at the income equality that's going on? A Nobel Peace Prize in economy, I just read something, I want to say in the New York Times or Wall Street Journal, just recently talked about income inequality and how this is a problem. It's issues like this that I want to make us aware of, and that's what the people here who are sitting here are trying to do. Talk to each other, meet new people, raise these issues that are going on in our communities. Stop and frisk. There are so many different issues. Healthcare. I mean, look at the government shutdown. I really want to speak to those who are here and those who are walking by and say Moral Mondays is happening, just like it did in North Carolina. You probably read about it in the papers, and it's happening right here, and we want everyone to join and everyone to have a voice. Also, I like the idea of incorporating music with activism. When you look back on the civil rights movement, I think that's something very important. One that gave us, as people, as activists, gave people strength to overcome their own fears, maybe about standing up and speaking to a large group of people, or many things. But I think there's power in song, and I like the idea of incorporating song in protest, where just like mic checks, you can lend your voice to a cause, even if you aren't brave enough to stand up. I'm standing up here to speak for many people, not just myself, and I hope everyone who's walking by will think about joining us for Moral Mondays every Monday at 6 p.m.
All right, well said. I got one quick question about these meetings. Not everybody can make a meeting at 1 p.m. I saw on the Facebook page a few days ago there was talk about maybe having a quick meeting after this tonight.
Yeah, totally. We can totally talk about what we want to do next.
Okay.
Maybe that's a good popcorn for everybody. Like, stand up if you've got an idea about what we should talk about next time, or a song you think we should sing. That'd be awesome.
Affordable housing. I don't know that song. It's a great song.
It's called
Great song.
The Rent is Too Damn High.
There's I mean, it's the chorus of a song, but we who believe in justice shall not rest. We who believe, or we who believe in freedom, you can change the word. We who believe. Okay, I'm not a singer. We who believe in freedom shall not rest. We who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom shall not rest. We who believe in freedom shall not rest until it comes.
Yeah, somebody got to try to
We
carry it
who
too.
believe in justice cannot rest. We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in justice cannot rest. We who believe in justice cannot rest until it comes. Change it with different words.
We who believe in morality shall not rest. Or we who have morals. We who have morals shall not rest.
Have morals shall not rest
Till they come.
Have morals shall not rest
Until it comes. I see two great activists up here who haven't spoken yet, Bev and Bill.
All right, I'll speak for 1 minute.
You want a mic check, Bev?
No,
Okay.
I think it sounds loud enough to me. Today I had a court date. I was arrested a year and a half ago with the Veterans for Peace and Occupy, May 1st, 2012. And each time I go, which is about every 6 weeks, they offer me an ACD and I'm not taking it. There were several of us who did not take ACDs. The last one beside myself was given one on another trial we had with the Veterans for Peace, and she got a 30-30. Now, 30-30 means they haven't worked on the case. It's speedy trial business. And our problem was they're telling that there's all kind of days that were taken because the phones weren't working after Sandy, all kinds of things. But she got 30-30. So today I figure after 7 visits, I'm going to get that 30-30 and get out of this court. Well, I get in there and no, I don't. I have a court date for a trial December 2nd. And this judge, this very judge, was the one who recommended a 30-30 for the woman who was ahead of me on October, whenever it was we had a court date, for getting the 30. She recommended to that particular judge.
Wow.
So that's how the system was.
No rhyme or reason. It wasn't Mandelbaum, was it?
No, Mantelbaum was the one who was
I met you doing jail support the other day.
Bill Johnson walks for democracy on Staten Island every Saturday, where a lot of the Sandy devastation first hit. Bill?
Folks, it's so wonderful to be here with you. First of all, nobody has a monopoly on the truth. As much as we can come together, we'll get to that truth that we truly need to have a better society with gatherings like this. So for the people who thought of this, thank you so very much. From this spot every Friday, we have speak outs starting at 5:30. This being 2013, as I hope most of you understand, this is the 50th anniversary on the March on Washington. It also happens to be the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. And it also happens to be the anniversary of that very same length of time, the anniversary of a bloody battle in that bloody war, the Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg, in which we got the Gettysburg Address. These great documents from letter from Birmingham jail, I Have a Dream speech, the Gettysburg Address, the Declaration of Independence, parts of the Constitution are things we read from these steps. When we talk about morals, my mind goes to those two most wonderful people in my life who I can never be thankful enough of, my mother and father. What they went through in their life, never complaining, and taking care of their children, taking care of their siblings through disease and tragedy, misfortune. To me, that's where morals begin with. Our very essence of life, our love for one another. And I try, in my own stumbling way, to try to follow those two great examples of my life. I was very fortunate to have fallen in love with a wonderful woman who was very much like my parents, very selfless, hardworking, totally dedicated to her children and to her family. And she too is that example of that moral standard we should have and share together. I lost my family home, the home that my grandfather built over 100 years ago, due to incredible evil. The evil of the legal system that Beverly just spoke about. We expect to get justice for all. That is our creed, from that very legal system. I hate to say it, but the legal system, in all my long experience going through it in various venues, is a fraud. It is a fraud. We need a better legal system. We need that dedication to make it right. But everything begins right here, our love for one another. Our love for one another at Zuccotti Park starting in September 17th in 2011. Standing up to our own weaknesses, our own greeds, our own petty grievances against each other with love and understanding. And it's so wonderful to see you, mostly younger people, especially this young fellow with the gray hair. He's practicing Halloween early. He's going around as an older cameraman, but we really know he's a man in his 30s. He's got a long life. Right, sir? Talking about you. I know. Talking about you, Joe. Here's another person who has dedicated his life to this incredible fight against the powerful, for justice and a better society, a better civilization. On the ground where the indigenous people of this land used to live. We have a long ways to go. I won't see it. I'm lucky I'm still alive. I have a genetic medical condition that didn't keep me out of the Army. I went to Vietnam. I was wounded there. But I'm still alive, and the doctors at the VA hospital say, we can't believe it. We don't know what's keeping you alive. My lungs and my liver continuously are destroyed, but I still have enough power to speak this way. And I still have enough power in my legs to keep moving. October 29th is the 1-year anniversary of that terrible Hurricane Sandy, which actually wasn't a hurricane, it was a tropical cyclone. But it had such a powerful surge that it caused great damage to the area that I was forced to move into, Midland Beach, where we lost 23 lives, terribly, needlessly, and we've had no accountability of those mostly elderly people who were left to fend for themselves on that night of October 29th. And they lost their lives. October 29th, next Tuesday, we will make a walk from Tottenville, Brighton Street, near the home where the Dresch family lost 2 of its 3 members, to Doty Avenue in South Beach, roughly 15 miles in a zigzag line, to remember Arthur Kasperzak, who made sure the 7 members of his family were alive and well in the very top floor of their small house there on Doty Avenue. As he went back downstairs to see if the pump was working, he was electrocuted when the waters came in and touched off an electric shock to him. We need each other. Hurricane Sandy taught us that. Very brave people have not been mentioned on that night, swimming through waters, saving people, saving elderly people, saving children, bringing them into their homes. That's morality. That's a morality you don't know. We speak right here about that morality. You will listen to us because that's what made this country great. To those members of my platoon that I lost, I love you, brothers. Uncle Sam should never have sent us off to that war. Shame on us. We will keep fighting to make this a humane and loving country. Please join us against that terrible monstrosity called Wall Street and the stock exchange. Shame on you. You take away jobs and you steal from people and you don't go to jail. I'm going to keep fighting till I'm dead. I was sent to Vietnam for a lie. This is the truth. Thank you.
Woo! Woo!
Right.
You gonna point at me? Oh, I've been holding back, but I'm going to take a chance. I believe I have made an important scientific discovery that involves the Bible. And it goes to what you were saying about what to do, how to replace our legal system that we all know does not accomplish justice. The scientific discovery involves a solar generator of political power. Sounds strange, right? The idea is, I've discovered the mystery, the key to the mystery of human nature itself. And the power of the sun. And where the Bible comes into it, although in the Bible they do say to stone to death your local astrologer, they do offer an alternative to astrology in the story of the 12 sons, or as we often think of it, the 12 brothers. And in particular, the point I was making about replacing our legal system. In Genesis 49:16, I have discovered the key to replacing our rotten legal system and our rotten society with the Aquarian age.
What is Genesis 49 and 16? Here's what it comes down to. It's the Bible's version of the birthday factor. And the scientific discovery I've made is that birth date is a bigger deal than astrology bargains for. That birth date is the key to the mysteries of human nature. That birthday is the power of the sun in the development of the infant and our complete variety of ways of being human. But in particular, Genesis 49 is a song by a father, Jacob, on his deathbed to his 12 sons. And when he gets to the son named Dan, who they tell you is born after the son named Judah the goat. After Judah the goat in astrology, that's Aquarius. Oh, when he gets to the Aquarius, Dan, he says, you have such a talent for being judges that when society appreciates that, we shall have salvation, or in other words, the Aquarian age. And whenever I meet an Aquarius, I say, hey, I got a plan to replace our whole legal system with just Aquarius judges. Whenever there's a need for justice, we'll put an Aquarian right on the case ASAP with the power to make justice. And you know what they come right back and say to me? I can do that. Woo.
I have a point of process. I don't know what sign that is.
That looks good enough.
All right. So I'm not sure why we can't use this weekly assembly to do planning, as opposed to have a separate. Unfortunately, in Occupy Wall Street, we ended up having the General Assembly and the Spokes Council meeting, and spokes councilors started to be referred to as the senators, and the General Assembly as the House, and unfortunately I'm not well enough to go to additional meetings. Making this once a week is a big enough thing. So if we could figure out a way to make an assembly here, maybe through facilitation and a meeting plan each week through the website.
Yeah, I mean, part of the thing that I think maybe wasn't entirely clear, although we put it in the name, is that last week and this week were really test runs.
Right.
We were really trying to figure out whether people were even interested in doing this. And I feel a little bit weird about how people keep staring at me, but I guess I'll just talk. So the idea was that we would test it out. How many people would show up? If we do different kinds of outreach, who would show up? And the thing is that there are a lot of people who are coming here right now, like last week and this week. We've only done it twice. Not everybody can make it. Not everybody has been able to make it every time. But there are a lot of people who are waiting to see how the test runs go, and so we don't want to preclude anybody's involvement, as it were. So there's nothing, we can talk about what we want to do next week for sure. People will talk about it, I'll probably get on the phone and talk to my mom about it tonight. People will be talking about it tomorrow afternoon, and we'll see how it goes. I think one thing to be clear is this is not an Occupy event. There are a lot of other organizations who are involved, and it was a small group who wanted to do sort of these test runs and to see how it would go. But
The Occupy thing is not part of this.
yeah, of course. But we're not the only ones, right? We were asked to do the test, or not even all of Occupy Faith. So I don't want to get into a back and forth because I'm not a representative of anybody here. But people, he asked me a question, so I'm just giving him some
Actually, I asked the
background.
question can we have our assembly here and do our planning here, as opposed to having separate meetings? That's a general question.
That question got posed on, I forget which Facebook page it got posted on, but that question got posed on either the Facebook invitation page the other day or on the Moral Mondays NYC page. And I second what Richard says. And the people who are assembled here have given enough time and commitment to know that they've shown up. So those who might not be able to make a weekday meeting in the middle of the day should probably have as much say-so in what's going to take place at future meetings. It needs to be equal involvement, and the people who are here are obviously involved because we gave it enough consideration and thought it important enough that we showed up. So to me, in my mind's eye, it makes sense to maybe have at least a beginning planning meetings for next week's Moral Monday immediately after this meeting tonight, just as a matter of practicality.
I'd also like to point out that it seems that horizontalism is being confused as occupying. Part of what seems to happen when something happens, things rarefy into meetings and then the action. And I think trying to figure out ways we can keep the we inclusive. I think having separate meetings is important, but keeping a spirit of horizontalism and community that I'm already feeling that this we is somewhat a group of rarefied people that might be steering this, and I want to make sure we build something that it can keep on growing the way it has these past 2 weeks. Of this great idea by this small group of individuals who had a vision, that we do keep it open, so it keeps on organically flowing, and it's not occupying. The facilitation isn't occupying. I'm seeing we have tools and lessons we can apply, and I just don't want the vilification of these tools just because Occupy favored them. That's all.
Good point. She had her hand up.
I just want to clarify that, yes, we're having a meeting tomorrow at Judson Church to sort of get feedback about how these 2 test runs went and discuss where we want to go forward with the Moral Monday movement. But that's not necessarily going to be a regular thing. We're not necessarily going to have a meeting at Judson every week. Tomorrow is sort of a planning and feedback movement, meeting for the movement. So if you can't make it tomorrow, and if you can't make it on Tuesdays in general, you don't need to worry about that right now. We very well may end up having weekly meetings after our Moral Mondays events. This is still very much in the beginning phase and we're still figuring it all out. So we're still working on that. If you can't make it tomorrow, don't worry about it. There will be more.
Thanks for the info.
So yeah, I actually, I think there's a difference between meetings and actions. And I feel like it's important, though I think this was great today. I heard last week was great. If it just turns into a meeting or an assembly or just something that's planning the next thing every week, that makes it a much less enticing proposition for new people to come.
Nobody's suggesting that.
Well, I know, but and even I think it's important to figure out what the process is going to be, how these things are going to go every week, when people should have these organizing meetings. But in Occupy, the organizing and the actions and the meetings, it all got conflated in a way that turned into something very damaging, because the 99% doesn't have time just to argue about what comes next. They want to do the thing now. And this was fantastic, starting with song, and now it's turning into a meeting, which is good, because it's clear at this point in the process we need people need to have these discussions. But I would just request people respect the process, that tomorrow there's something already planned, and that if people want to plan the next steps, they should go to that.
Right. And just to wrap up the discussion, because I think we actually want to go on to talking about next week rather than talking about next week, is, like I said before, because we're very much in this testing phase, like people are going through all the Facebook things. Like somebody made a comment like, stop calling it a test run. So we talked about why we're calling it a test run. Like people are saying like, we want to hear about different issues. There are emails going around on the Occupy Faith list. There are emails going around in all kinds of places. We're still culling information. And so like if you have ideas and you can't make a meeting tomorrow, like put it on the Facebook page. We're like literally reading through them like every day, to make sure that we're collecting what people's feedback about it is, so we can know how people feel about these test runs. But maybe we can now actually talk about next week. People okay with that? Can I get like an amen or a wiggle or something?
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Way to move it forward. Thank you.
I want more songs. I'm gonna go home and look up some songs and bring some lyrics and like have stuff saved up so we can hear the tune, and maybe talk to Eve about what she's got in her faith. I like singing.
So I'm going to go back to what I said before, which was, I think one of the things that made Moral Mondays in North Carolina really, really special was that they created a safe place for people of all faiths to come and participate in civil disobedience. I remember Rachel Maddow taking her show down there for an entire week when they went over 900 arrests. I mean, it's really a powerful thing as a collective to do, but also individually for us to go through this process and use our bodies in a way to express our feelings as strongly as we can. So maybe we could have a civil disobedience subcommittee or something that could meet We always have access to 60 Wall Street right here if people want to meet before or after the Monday meetings. So I'd be happy to facilitate a discussion about that. I think once people start hearing that people are getting arrested on Moral Mondays, it becomes sort of something that people become interested in and saying, well, what's happening? And, you know, so that's, I'd like to talk more about that. Maybe even plan something. I would be more than happy to be in the first group of people who get arrested on Moral Mondays. I think it would be a great thing.
Just gonna stand up so I can be heard. I'm Grace. Hi, everyone. Hi. It's good to see you all. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about the discussion. I'm not sure why. I think it's because I went to the first meeting about Moral Mondays. I was only there for a little bit of the second one, and they were both very complicated discussions. And then I didn't go to the last one, and then I heard about this, so I came here this week and last week, this week. And what I learned at the first meeting is that there had been calls, like many conference calls that have been going on for months among faith leaders about Moral Mondays in New York State. That there are also a number of community-based organizations around the city and around the state that are interested in Moral Mondays. And so it sounded like there's been a lot of discussion that has been happening since this summer. And I don't know, I guess I would hate for this group to feel like we are Moral Mondays. And then for new people to come and then somehow get the vibe that like we are Moral Mondays and they have to fit into what we're doing. Yeah. So I feel like we should welcome the strangers out there who are also thinking about Moral Mondays. Absolutely. And be ready to greet them with open arms, whatever that means. So that's my suggestion.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we seem to have the song side down, that this seems to be where the space and the welcomeness is happening. Maybe we can all next week come back with songs we want to sing, and then maybe have discussions in your communities about potential civil disobedience actions, and then bring back what you hear in your communities, and then we can have a more full conversation about where we might lend our bodies the first action.
That makes sense. Yeah. And the more people who are brainstorming, we can come up with a greater plan for a CD. I know on one of the Moral Mondays pages, it quoted Reverend Donna Shapley from Judson, and she actually, it was my understanding in a quote that she gave, she's actually supportive of the CDs. She's called it moral furiousness, I think, is one of her quotes in it. So she obviously embraces it too, and I'm with Richard, and I think Justin is saying basically the same thing. The sooner we use CDs as part of our Moral Mondays, the stronger the message will be, and hopefully that will help bring people in too. It's about outreach and awareness, and CDs obviously doesn't mean everybody gets arrested. A lot of planning goes into it. Just like you said, it sounds like there was a lot of planning for these first two Moral Mondays. I didn't know anything about that, but the planning paid off because last week was pretty intense, and tonight there's still a good group of people. And the last thing I want to say is, yeah, at a Moral Monday thing, the people who have shown up for the first two are no more important than the people who are going to come in the future.
A point of clarification, I guess, whatever. It's not that a lot of planning went into this trial run. A lot of planning has been going on about how to do Moral Mondays statewide among people who are not here at all. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, my name's Ted, and thank you to the folks who have been putting this together. I think it's really important. It's almost like a desperate act for people to congregate, or it's your last best effort to kind of put your bodies on the line. When you don't have a voice in your democracy, you don't have a voice at your job, you're looking for a voice. So when we congregate, at least we have that platform to speak and be heard amongst one another. I was part of a group. We took a road trip down to Raleigh, North Carolina, to observe the Moral Mondays because we were so moved by what was happening down there. To see, again, people congregating and speaking out against a broken system that leaves the majority in the lurch. So I was really impressed by what we saw down there, and I was impressed by the folks that put this together. And I think what looked different about the Moral Mondays was that two components, that it was faith-based, which kind of maybe puts a different face on it for the media, that makes it maybe more inviting to the 99%. And I'm all for whatever gets people out, whatever your faith is. If the faith aspect makes it more inviting, it's a more appealing branding of this message, then I'm all for it. I'm also all for building coalitions. I think it's important, whatever your faith is.
The NAACP was there, the NAACP.
The NAACP was there, yeah. Adrian was one of the folks that we went down together. So yeah, all of that coalition building I think is important. So I think that was, the interfaith aspect was very important, and the mass arrest, as Richard spoke to, was very important. I happen to agree that I think, again, the last act kind of a desperate, I mean, we've even seen people self-immolating. Maybe that's that's really the last desperate act. Shy of that, I think there is something strong about putting our bodies on the line en masse. And it's not going to be everyone, it doesn't have to be everyone, but it does make a strong statement when there is a willingness to risk arrest and say, I stand with my fellow citizens that this system is broken and is not working and needs to be addressed. So certainly that component appeals to me. But most of all, I want to say thank you, because whether it's 100 people or 2 people, the fact that we're congregating and speaking out inspires me, and it is impressive. So thank you.
But I think, actually, if I could ask, I feel like the same people have spoken a lot. And it's really interesting, but it would be great if some other people would speak about some of the things they'd like to see in the future with Moral Mondays as we move forward.
Okay, so I also had gone down to North Carolina, and the thing that stood out for me is that they had a different issue every week. So they had a list of issues that they were going to go and deal with. So the week that we were there, it was kind of the ministers who'd gone in and been arrested. The second time I went, it was about the school system. And it was extremely powerful. And I do think that the arrests are, I'm going to agree with everybody else, that the arrests and the music, they play a huge part in just making it an inviting environment. I think that us kind of gathering in a circle and talking to each other, I liked how Stacy talked to the crowd. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that happening. And I think if we were to have an issue every week or something that we could come and present here to the people that are walking by and get them in. And the last thing I wanted to say is that I'm pretty sure that the Moral Mondays in North Carolina started out just like real small like this. So, and they kept going and it grew.
Oh well.
So I am religious. Okay. I would really sort of hope that other people can be coming home who are not, you know, who are not at all. Like not at all. You don't have to be religious to have morals. And I would especially hate if the reason that like Moral Mondays got attention from the media is because a bunch of religious people got arrested. You know, like I think that's a pretty shit reason to get like notice. You know what I mean? I think that it helps. I mean, I guess in a way it's good because it sort of brought attention to like marijuana and that's helpful. But you know, I wouldn't want to like isolate or alienate people who are pagan or atheist or agnostic or anything. I think we can all pretty much agree that what the government is doing on a large scale is wrong, and just sort of use that as a start.
I think
Haven't we had that discussion at the first meeting?
Oh, no, I wasn't here yet.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that at the first meeting we had before we came here, and that moral issues are moral issues, regardless of whether you're religious or not religious. So that's, and also I think it's really important that the ministry be here. I think that it's a very powerful thing. That's my own opinion, but it's
Because
important.
it shows the diversity of the message.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susan, and I'm wondering what people think about location. In North Carolina, they were at the Capitol. They were addressing state issues at the Capitol, and it made sense. When we decided to do this test run here, there was a government shutdown. This is a public park. It was affected by the shutdown, and it made sense to come here. And so, I'm just wondering what people think about location. Or, maybe we should take Moral Mondays to, when we talk about thematically, another idea is to take a theme for the week and go to where that's the problem in the city, and sort of bring Moral Mondays to various parts of the city. So, that's another idea. But so anyway, I'm really wondering what, how people feel about location, and like the same location or moving location, or to collaborate with themes, or I don't know.
Well, it's not going to be easy to get people here down here as the weather gets colder. And it gets snowy and icy. There won't be many people coming here, so they have to find someplace else for the bad weather that's coming.
Dress warm.
Sorry, there is pretty much any train you would need to get down here, and the ferry.
I would also point out that de Blasio has said that if he wins, he and his family would be living in Gracie Mansion. And historically, a lot of protests have occurred there. We did a disabled community protest there last year that was pretty successful. So if we're doing city-based issues, that's a possible target. Certainly for me, the stock exchange is where most of my outrage is always going to be focused. So this is a very important spot for me personally. I was arrested right here, this very spot. Having your sign touch the step. This is an arrestable offense right here, right now.
You're above this. You're a few steps up. Yes, you're up
a couple of steps up that night.
I remember that.
Can I say something? I know I've already spoken a lot. To me, to me, it's not a right or wrong choice of the location. I think changing locations is a good idea, but that requires that we stay focused and people are ready to mobilize week after week, going anywhere from Tottenville on the southern tip of Staten Island to the Bronx, if we want to make it truly citywide. So there's pros and cons to keeping it here at 26 Wall Street, but I'll defer to whatever the majority thinks. I don't think there's a right or wrong choice, but we need to stay strong in whatever choice we make.
Okay, I've been trying to consider what to say, first off. First, being religious doesn't, Megan needs to be religious too.
I'm sorry?
I'm Wiccan.
Oh,
so,
I see.
And as a Wiccan, thank you. As a Wiccan, you could also be religious. I am part of the clergy with Wiccan Family Temple. And I've been considering things to say and what it is that's brought me here. I've never, ever been involved in any sort of protest. So this is a first. Thank you. One of the things that bothers me is a lot of the laws that have been passed, mostly against women in general, regarding the abortions and being forced to go through, even among rapes, going through having to have an ultrasound transvaginally, which I think is Virginia or one of the other. Yeah, it is Virginia. And also I have a lot of friends right now who are not working or working for very low pay because they haven't gotten a job and unable to get Medicaid because they own too much or for whatever reason, So, there's a lot of things, several things there that bothered me. The just general stuff, but mostly those, and those are the things that bothered me the most. So.
Thanks for speaking, Carrie.
Yeah.
Just a few points of information before my speak out, which obviously I've been doing for 45 years, is one thing. Now we are facing each other and we're engaged in discussion. I have a point to say for you, but first of all, as a member with Carlos of AccuEvolve, we've been very much engaged at this location at Zuccotti Park for the second anniversary of S17 and engaged with Community Board 1, which is the community board in this area. I'm also from a Community Board 1 on the other side of the harbor on Staten Island. These are two very important locations to me. They're two very close communities to me. So in terms of where we take actions, I say it's communities that are very familiar to each and every one of us. And we can help and support those that are being, bottom line, by the people from those communities. I plan to be very active within this next 2 weeks at Beryl Hall on Staten Island because the corrupt city council up the street is going to vote on the very corrupt Ferris wheel that's being proposed for Staten Island.
Yeah, I think it's disgusting.
A Ferris wheel, which is not going to be for the poor children of my community. New Brighton, Park Hill, Mariners Harbor, West Brighton,
Fort Richmond,
which are still fighting the plague of HIV, of homelessness, of joblessness, of poverty. We need jobs that are sustainable, that we used to have on Staten Island. Procter & Gamble, Bethlehem Steel, U.S. Gypsum. That's a very important community to me. I will be involved speaking out, as you heard me here, as I am every week outside the gates of City Council, shouting my voice that you heard, excuse me. So I feel that we have to, bottom line, locations, be a part of those communities. As a part of AccuEvolve, we go to Community Board 1. We have spoken to the body of Community Board 1 to say we would like to have an assembly, a gathering at Zuccotti Park on S17, 2013. And as I spoke to the crowd, I saw smirks and, oh boy, these people, Here we go again. The drums, everybody was beating the drums, mimicking what they felt S17 was about. And as I tried to describe to the people of Community Board 1 here in the lower part of Manhattan, what we've been doing here on these steps for the whole of 2013, remembering the civil rights movement, which, if you don't realize it, is where we've come from. It's where our ideals were built upon. And I told the crowd of the readings of the letter from Birmingham jail, one of the greatest pieces of American literature, written in a narrow jail cell on the margins of newspapers that were smuggled to Martin Luther King. Smuggled by his wife, by someone else, to write this great writing of literature. And as I finished, somebody accosted me on the way out and said, "Excuse me." It was an African American woman who said, "You were insulting. Do you compare that rabble, that nonsense that was Zuccotti Park with the civil rights movement?" And I said, "No, ma'am, I did not. That was education. That was what informs us, where we've been. That's why I do it. That's why I try to get other people to do it, to tell what the pain and suffering in this very country, in my lifetime, where people who came from Africa were not treated as full human beings, as full citizens in this country. So that's what we got to do. If you want to talk about morality, take a location that's very important to you and speak about your stories of life. Each and every one of us has a story about life. Feel it, own it, speak it out, share it with the people on Wall Street, on Melrose Avenue in Bronx, wherever it is. Frederick Douglass Avenue in Harlem. Do it, speak out. We need that moral, pardon me, Justin, it's leadership. It's leadership. We need that leadership. Pardon me, but I have a little problem with horizontalism. People have got to show leadership. Not selfish leadership, selfless leadership. So please, to me, that's what I have to offer to you folks. Take those locations. Be a part of that community. Tell the story of how we on Staten Island, in my own community, years ago, people suffered deaths from water, not where the water came from a tidal surge, where water came up from the ground, from where we built buildings, tenements, in my community of New Brighton, that undermined a tenement and collapsed and had a score of people, almost the same number as were killed in tropical cyclone, I should say, Sandy on Staten Island. We've had that degradation of people dying because people don't care. So that's my gift to you. Own that community. Do the actions that are meaningful to the people around you. Be a part of that community. Speak out. I'm a part of New Brighton. I always will be. A corrupt mafioso judge can take my home away from me and give it to a friend, as that blankety blank did. But I'm going to get justice on him some way or other, just to tell this story of how corrupt the legal system on Staten Island throughout New York is. So that's what it is. It's our voices, it's our experiences. Feel it. Thank you.
Yeah, so a lot of people brought up a lot of different issue areas that I've been really excited about, whether it's income disparity, attack on women's rights, etc. And I know that, or correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that in North Carolina, when they started World Mondays there, it was more in direct response to voting disenfranchisement very specifically. And then it grew into other issues and other issues and other issues. So I kind of wanted to take a quick poll because I know that rallying under a particular issue or issues together can be controversial, whether it's Occupy or whatever, but it can also bring a lot of people together. And I just wanted to get a sense. So if you're enthusiastic about naming issues specifically and then having sub-issues under that, if you like that idea, do this. And if you don't like it, we're right here. And if you don't know how you feel about it, do this. But how do folks feel about naming issue areas and like building that out into what we're doing here?
Just one clarification. One issue or many issues?
One issue or many issues? I'm not sure. The model was in North Carolina, they identified 7 and then built a lot of different pieces under that. So
start with 4.
Yeah, some for 1 to less than $1 million.
Oh, yeah. So when we did the action in Albany, the gender equality was there. The getting money out of politics was there. Medical marijuana and marijuana legalization was there, and it was really an incredible experience to be, sit in front of the speaker's door in locked arms with, trans women and medical marijuana patients, and but I don't know what the issues were in North Carolina. So I'm not sure what to twinkle. A core of some issues.
Can I make a suggestion? And anybody who wants to raise an issue, we should go everybody who has an issue, and then we should write them down and work from there.
It might be easier if people discuss them on Facebook, like honestly. Yeah. If everybody's comfortable with that, it's easier, and then I can just copy and paste it in the spreadsheet.
Is there anybody who does not have access to a Facebook account that we can help connect them to?
You can come to my house, Bill.
I just don't want to have any technological gaps between people getting their voices heard. Okay.
What she says makes sense.
All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next Monday.
Yeah. Whoa. How about a song? You're going to lead it.
I don't sing.
Overcome. Everyone knows that.
Everyone knows that.
Hey.
All over